Hello CraftDee family, and welcome to another tutorial by She's So CraftDee. Now I always get asked about porch decor type crafts, so I've selected some of my favorite covered porch and patio DIYs that I have made on my channel to share with you guys today. Now to get you all started, I've included the full supply list with the links in the description box. Now to all of my amazing subscribers and visitors, I wanted to say hey, and if you haven't subscribed yet, you definitely should so you could see hundreds of fresh and original craft ideas on my channel. So let's get started. Now this project is a tall wood porch lantern. Now we're going to need some tumbling tower blocks for the Dollar Tree. Now you also can use a thick scrap of wood as well instead. We're also going to need 4 wood plant stakes, and these were from Dollar General. They're only $1, and if you go to the garden section in Dollar General, you should see these in a big box labeled $1. Now if you can't find them at Dollar General, you can get them from any plant and garden center. So we're going to start with the tumbling tower block version. So what I'm going to do is I am going to bring out 9 blocks and I'm going to place them in a row. And what I want to do is glue these together. Now I do want 3 sets of the 9 blocks, and then I'm going to push them all together to make one solid square. Now this will be the size of the base of our lantern, which measures 6 by 6. And what we want to do is we are going to glue these all together. So this will end up being 27 blocks, and we want to glue them with wood glue. Since this is an item that can be used outdoors, we definitely want to use wood glue to make sure that this is very stable and will be resistant to the weather. So here is one of those blocks all glued together with the wood glue, and we want to continue until we make 4 of these. So now here are all of our pieces all now glued together, and what we're going to do is double stack them. Now when you double stack them, you want to flip the order in which they're going as shown here, so the blocks will kind of crisscross, and this actually kind of reinforces that adhesion for those 2 layers. So what you want to do is to take your wood glue, you want to apply a generous amount on top, squeeze them together until you have one solid plank, and this will be nice and thick for the bottom and top bases. And once you do that for both, you have both of those bases done, and we're ready to move on to the next step. Now if you don't want to use blocks and you want to use a solid piece of wood, you can cut this by 6 by 6 or larger according to your preference, and you do want to make 2 pieces. So now what we're going to do is we are going to take some additional tumbling tower blocks, and we're going to work on the topper. So the first part of the topper has 4 blocks, and we're going to glue these all together with some wood glue. And once you have that 4-piece base, we are going to take 4 pieces at the top and 4 pieces at the bottom. And what we're going to do is stand these up on each side of that 4-block set. Now we are going to wood glue these in place until they look like this, and this will be the decorative topper piece that will be our base. Now to top it off, you can use something as simple as a shower curtain ring, and you can get these from Dollar Tree. Now I just cut off the little snap portion, and you can just glue it right on top. You just want to make sure you use a strong adhesive such as E6000. Now if you don't want to use the shower curtain ring, what I like to use are these wood finials, and you could get these from Lowe's. They come in a 2-pack for only $2.98, really good deal. So what I like to do is remove that screw, that dowel screw in the middle, and all you have to do is hold it with pliers and then unscrew it from the base and sit that to the side. Don't toss that, this comes in handy for other projects as well. So now that we have our finial with our flat surface, all we're going to do is adhere it to the top of our decorative topper piece. Now to do that, just add a generous amount of wood glue, and you want to sit that on top and allow it to completely dry. So here it is, all nice and dry, and it's ready to adhere to the top of our lantern once we get it assembled. So now what we're going to do is work on our plant stakes. Now if you can't find them at Dollar General, you can definitely find them at any garden center. So I'm going to cut my plant stakes down to 28 inches long. This is my preference in height, and you want to make sure you want to cut off the end that has the pointy side. So I like to tape them together, take them out to my saw, and then make a straight cut across each one to make a 28-inch length for each one. And this just makes sure that they're all going to be absolutely even. So I'm removing all of the stickers from them and preparing them for our project. So go ahead and grab one of those planks, and this will be the bottom, and I'm just going to sit it upright and add one plank on one plank with 2 stakes. Now, to adhere the stakes to that bottom plank, I am using my wood hot glue. Now keep in mind, this is only temporary. I just want to hold the stakes in place against that bottom plank while I screw some pilot holes in to hold screws. Now I'm taking a 7/64 inch drill bit, and I'm going to drill through the bottom plank all the way into that stake in the corner. You want to do this for both of your corners. And now that you have your pilot holes in each one of the corners, we're going to decide what kind of screws we want to use. So what I decided to use to hold my tall lantern in place is a number 8 3-inch wood screw. This is a very long screw. It will give it plenty of stability to hold everything in place. So I'm just going to start by hand threading it into that pilot hole and screw it all the way in until it goes through the bottom and into that side stake right there on the side. And we want to repeat this for the other side until both of them are secure as shown here. So now that we've done one side, here is what the other end looks like. It's nice and open. And then we're just going to flip this around, and we're going to repeat this for the other side, gluing the stakes on, drilling our pilot holes, and then we're going to add our screws to secure those as well. And here are all 4 sides with those stakes all secured into place. So now we're going to flip it around and work on the other side. We're going to take our other 2-layer plank, and what we're going to do is we are going to glue it in place right on all 4 sides. We're going to drill our pilot holes and add our screws to this side the same way we did before. And now we have one solid square piece lantern with all of our screws in all 4 corners on both sides. So now we can add our topper decorative piece to the top. Now we just want to make sure we find the center, and we can use the block design to find the center really easily. And when you add this to the top, you definitely want to use some wood glue for this to make sure it will stay nice and in place with all of the weather. And here it is all in place, and I used some painter's tape just to hold it to make sure that it stays in place while it dries. And now that it's dry, here is what it looks like. The topper is nice and secure in place. Now the only other thing I wanted to add as an accent is a little hook underneath the top. Now I'm using these little metal hooks that I had on hand. You could get these from Walmart. They come in an assortment of sizes and colors, but I'm just taking one of those little hooks, and what I want to do is just screw it in right underneath the top of the lantern, right in the very center. You don't need to drill a pilot hole for these. These are kind of self-drilling, and they'll go in just with a twist of a hand, really easy. And here is what that hook will look like right in the center. And now that that's done, all we have to do now is to take it outside and give it a couple of coats of flat black spray paint, or you can hand paint it if you like. So now here is my lantern, all nice and spray painted. If you missed any spots, you can take it back out and touch it up, but here it is. All of the areas are nice and covered, and our lantern looks awesome. So now what I'm doing is I'm taking one of those plant hangers made with a string from a Dollar Tree. They have these over in the garden section, and I wanted to use this in my lantern. So what I'm doing is I'm laying it straight out, and I'm finding the very center because I wanted to divide it in half. So what I'm doing is taking it at that half point, and I'm grabbing one of the zip ties. You can get these from the Dollar Tree as well, and I'm zip tying it right in the middle, so I'll have 2 sections to hold plants in my lantern. So I'm just going to tighten it up and then break off the end of that zip tie, and now this piece is divided in half. Now what I decided to hang in mine are these little potted plants. Now I get these from IKEA. I believe they're only $4.99. Really versatile. I love using these in my decor. So I'm just going to take the bottom half of my planter holder and I'm going to insert one of those plants inside, making sure that the strings and the supports are evenly distributed. And then I'm going to open up that top side and add the other little plant inside as well, the same way. Now once they're both in place, you can see you have this cute double planter that is nice and hung with the little Dollar Tree hanger, and now we can add that to our lantern. So I'm going to set this to the side. Go ahead and grab your lantern piece. So I'm going to grab it and I'm going to take the ring at the very top of the planter and I'm just going to push the greenery inside, make sure it hangs nice and even inside that whole entire lantern. And now you can see you have the hook using it as a double planter hanger, which is really cute. So now here is the tall lantern with those double plants displayed on the inside, and I love how this looks. Now this tall lantern and plant holder turned out so great, and it was super easy to make too. And these wood finials from Lowe's give this piece the perfect finishing touch, and the black paint finish makes it look really high-end. Now there are so many ways that you can display this piece, and hanging plants inside is only one of the options. Now if you prefer lighting, how about adding some fairy light strands from the Dollar Tree? Now I just love using these lights, and they give just enough sparkle for that evening front porch glow. Now I've only added 2 strands, but you can add as many as you like for your decorative piece. Now another option is to add a large battery candle too. Now here what I've done is I have added a double candle stand with a battery candle, and it fit in there perfectly. Now I also added a plant on the hook too that is hung with a fishing line. Now I hope that this inspires you to create it as well. Now for this project we'll need 3 packs of these 5-gallon paint stir sticks from Lowe's for 98 cents. We'll also need 2 6-packs of these self-adhesive hooks from the Dollar Tree, and 3 packs of these white square containers from the Dollar Tree as well. Now we're going to start with painting our paint stir sticks, and I'm going to paint them my Jacobian stain by Minwax. Now you can choose any stain of your choice, but this just happens to be my favorite. Now you do want to make sure that you stain the part of the stick that does not have the markings on it, and you want to stain the top side, the side edges, and the top and bottom edges as well, because these may be seen in the finished project. Now here's one of my sticks fully stained, and you're just going to repeat this process for the remainder of your sticks. Now once they're all stained, just sit them outside to dry for at least a couple of hours. So now that those are dry, go ahead and grab a grid mat, and we're going to grab those paint stir sticks. Now we're going to use the grid mat to help with alignment, with laying these out to form our rack, and we're going to be ending up placing 7 sticks, spacing them about 1.5 inches apart. Now I went ahead and made some 1.5 inch templates to help with my spacing, but you could use from foam board or printer paper or whatever you may have to use this as well. Now in order to keep the sticks in place, I am putting rolled up painter's tape under each end, and you want to make sure your stained side is facing down. Now once you get the first one taped into place, put your spacers in and grab your next stick. Again, put painter's tape underneath there on the stained side, place it down, and make sure that that stir stick is placed snug against that spacer. And then we're going to repeat that, placing your spacer on top of that stick and adding another stick. Now what we're going to do is we are going to repeat this entire process until we have 7 sticks all laid out horizontally. So once it's all done, I'm just checking the spacing one more time to make sure everything is good to go. And this is what all my sticks laid out will look like. So now we're going to take 2 additional of those paint stir sticks and we're going to use these as the side braces for our rack. Now these are going to be a little longer than our spaced sticks, so I'm lining up the bottom and then making a line across the top to trim off all of the excess that overhangs. Now we want to trim this off for both of those paint stir sticks. Now I went ahead and cut 3 sticks since I had an additional one, but that third one will sit to the side for now. So we're going to lay both of our side sticks face down as well, and we're going to place them on each side of our rack. Now I'm going to be placing these about 1/2 inch from the edge. Now to bond these, I am using my Surebonder wood stick hot glue to secure these in place. Now once the glue is applied, go ahead and lay down your stick, making sure that it's equally spaced 1/2 inch from the edge all the way down. Now once that's on there, go ahead and add a strip of hot glue along the edge on each side of that paint stir stick, and this just makes sure it's super secure. And then we're going to repeat the process for the other side. So now I'm going to follow up with my staple gun. Now I have one with short staples and I do have one with long staples. Now we will be using the one with long staples. The short staple gun has 5/16 inch staples and the long one has 3/8, and 3/8 will go through the paint stick and down through the other piece to make sure it's nice and secure. So again, taking my staple gun with my long staples, I am going to put 2 staples in the stir stick where they cross. Now I'm going to do this for both of the sides of the rack until all the pieces are nice and secure in place with staples. Now for this third stick, this is totally optional and this is an extra one I had. Now I'm going to place this down the center and I'm going to adhere it with my staples and my glue just like I did before. It's not necessary, but it's optional, and I just wanted an extra one in the middle for my project. So now flip it over, remove all of that tape, and then you want to make sure that the front is nice and clean, and it's good to use one of those little Dollar Tree brooms to remove all of those hot glue webs. And this is what it looks like. It looks nice and neat. So now we're going to flip it back over to the back and we're going to start working on our hanging hardware. Now since my rack will be load bearing, you could definitely try different things. You could use these heavy duty sawtooth hangers, but I actually prefer these D-ring type hangers. I think that they can hold more weight and they just make the rack feel really solid and secure. Now since these will be screwed in, I wanted the wood to be extra thick where that screw will go in, so I'm adding those cut off ends of those paint stir sticks right on at the top edge on each side of the rack, and this will just make it a lot thicker for those screws. Now for this third one, if you used a third paint stir stick, go ahead and put that one at the bottom. You can add that there and this will just make it even on the back. But if you only use 2, no worries, you don't have to add this piece. This was just something extra. So I'm going to take my D-ring hangers and I'm just going to lay them about 1/2 inch from the top edge on each side. And then I'm going to take my pencil and I want to mark the 2 screw holes. Now what I like to do is just put the tiniest little dot of hot glue to secure that D-ring in place while I keep working, and this will just keep it from shifting. And then I'm going to take my drill with a small drill bit and I'm just going to drill down slightly down into that hole just so I could get that screw started in there. You definitely do not want to go through the whole thing. And since this is such a small screw, we could screw this in with a screwdriver, and as you can see, we're just going to put them in both of the sides. And again, I'm just going to follow up with a few more of those staples. You know, I love my pieces to be super secure, so I'm just adding a few more. So now that that's done, we can start working on our bins. So go ahead and remove them from all of their packaging and take them apart. Now we don't need the handles for this project, so we're just going to cut these off, and these cut fairly easy with a good pair of scissors. Now we'll also be using some of these adhesive hooks. Now it really doesn't matter what color you want, but if you do want all these same color, you could just paint them. I'm just using the 2 packs that I had on hand. These will not be showing in the project, so you could get any color that you could get your hands on. So what I'm going to do with these hooks is I'm going to apply them to one side of the container, and they're going to be upside down as shown here. Now these will form hooks, so they'll hang on the slats of the rack. Just peel off that adhesive, and I am going to add a little bit extra hot glue on that top part right above the adhesive, just so it's nice and secure. You're going to place it towards one of the edges of the back, and then we're going to add another one on the other edge of the back. We want to make sure that they're nice and even, so your container will hang even on the rack. Now you just want to press them firmly and make sure they're secure, and repeat this for the rest of your little bins, and this is what they'll look like when all of the hangers are applied to all of them. Now I'm also going to add some tags to mine. These come in 4 packs, but I already had 2 on hand. Now this one is completely optional. I just thought it'd be a little cute accent to the bins. So I'm going to take these tags, and I want them to be removable with Velcro. So I picked up some of these little Velcro dots from the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to flip them over to the back, and once I get them all flipped over, what I want to do is add some of the hook and loop pieces together, and then I'm going to place 2 dots on each one, so it'll be secured in 2 places on the front of the bins. Now and here's what they'll look like when they're all covered up with those hook and loop tape, and now you can actually just press them to the front of your container. You do want to make sure it's free of lint, and then go ahead and just press that sticky part right to the front of the container, and this way you could take them off and remove them to change the labeling or anything that you like. You don't have to actually remove the whole bin. You could just remove the label, and just do that for all of your bins. So here are all of my bins with the labels attached to the front. Now you can use either an acrylic paint pen, or you can use a chalk marker, or you could print out a label from your Cricut. It's all up to you how you want to label your labels, or just leave them blank. Now I'm going to add an additional accent on here, and I'm just tying little bows with jute twine. Again, this is totally optional, but I just thought this was just so super cute. So I'm tying a few of these little teeny bows. Now I'm just going to adhere all of these bows when I get them all made to the front of my tag. Now I'm going to put them right where the little hole is at the top of my label on the tag on the front of each one of the bins. Now you just apply these with just the tiniest little bit of hot glue. It really doesn't take much since these are so small. And here are all of my bins with their little bows in place. So now you can go ahead and add your bins to your rack. Now you can place these on there however you like. There's so many ways that you can organize them, and they go in so easily with those hooks. Now those hooks are really super strong, so they'll be able to hold quite a bit of weight. Now I placed it on my wall as a test hanging, and you know how some of these bins hang, but they kind of have that forward lean that looks kind of odd, and I didn't like this, so I am going to resolve that. And how I did that was to take some of these tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to add one to the back near the bottom. Now to adhere this to the container, all I'm going to do is run a bead of hot glue along that block and then place it near the bottom. Now what this will do will bump out the container just enough so the top is nice and level and it won't lean out from your rack. Now here are all of my containers with the block in place on the back, and then I have it on display, and you can add now all of the decorations of your choice. Now I think this turned out so awesome. Now for this version, I chose to stagger my bins and place some vibrant greenery and flowers in them. Now this would also be great if you wanted to start a hanging herb garden, since the bins are removable and waterproof. And then all you have to do is easily label those bins with each one of your plants and just sit back and watch it grow. It's just that simple. Now another option is to use this rack in your craft room. Now I'm sure we could all use some extra organization in there too. Now I like that the bins are really roomy for all sorts of supplies, and you can actually fit up to 9 bins on this rack. Now this also gets those items up and out of the reach from those little ones. Now how about using this in the bathroom too? Now I love this wood color with the white, and it really gives me that spa-like feel. Now the tags are completely optional, and you can customize these bins to fit your space. Now these are just a few ideas I wanted to share, but I would definitely love to know, how would you use this rack in your space in your home? Let me know in the comments below. I really hope that you all are enjoying these crafts so far, but I wanted to pop in really quick and let you all know that you could follow me on all of these platforms as CraftDee. So now let's jump right into that next DIY. We're going to be using a 1x4 wood furring strip. Now these can be purchased from the Home Depot, and they come in 8-foot lengths, and as you can see, they're extremely affordable at only $2.98 each. So we're going to cut these into pieces, and we're going to cut one piece at 12 inches. Our second piece will be cut at 13 inches. The third piece at 14 inches. And then the last two pieces are 15 and 16 inches. Now we'll also cut 2 additional pieces at 4.5 inches each. Now I use this Hitachi miter saw to cut all of my pieces. Now this is very easy to use, and it's fairly inexpensive for $99, and now it's sold under the name brand of Metabo. Now if you do not have any power tools, you could also cut these manually, and Lowe's has these little miter boxes that you could use. These are the plastic boxes that hold your wood, and it has a metal saw that comes with it. Now using this would take a little bit of elbow grease, but it's inexpensive at about $10.48 each. So now we're going to take the pieces, all except for the 14-inch piece, and we'll set that one to the side. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut like a roof shape at the top of each one of these pieces, and I just made this triangle out of a piece of cardstock. So what I'm going to do is place that at the top of each piece, and I'm going to trace that triangle shape on each one of the pieces. And now my triangle pieces are cut all out, and we can take it back to the saw to cut those shapes out. So I'm going to lay down my grid mat and gather up all of my pieces that have been cut. So now I'm just going to organize them in the way I would like them to appear for the back of my planter. Now once they're organized, go ahead and flip them to the good side down. And then I'm just taking that extra 14-inch piece at the bottom to line them up. And I'm going to be using my SureBonder wood stick glue sticks to temporarily adhere these together. Now I'm going to place the glue in between the two pieces, and you want to make sure when you do place your glue on there, place it towards the back side so it doesn't ooze towards the front of the wood piece. You just want to place a bead on there and press those two pieces together, and I'm just using that 14-inch piece at the bottom just to kind of make sure everything is nice and even, and then bond all of the pieces together. Now here are the pieces bonded together, and now I'm just going to go in back and just run a bead of that wood stick glue down the seam. So now that that's dry, I'm going to reinforce the back with a couple of these scrap pieces of wood. Now these are just scrap pieces of those 5-gallon stir sticks, and I'm just going to apply some more of that wood glue on there, and I want to press it into place on the back at the top and the bottom of the piece. Now I will be screwing these together, so what I plan to do is use these number 6 1-inch wood screws to adhere these all together. Now before we put the screws in, we definitely want to drill some pilot holes, and this will prevent the wood from splitting. So I'm just going to drill a pilot hole into each one of the pieces of wood on that top and bottom strip. And then I'm going to take those 1-inch wood screws and place one in each one of those pilot holes. And then you just want to secure each one of those wood screws into place. And here they are, all secured. Now if you flip it over, you see everything is nice and secure. So now we're going to take those 4.5-inch pieces, and we're going to be applying these to each side of the bottom of the box, and these will be forming the sides of our planter. So once again, I am just going to grab some of that wood hot glue and place an amount on the edge, and I want to line it up with the edge of the box along the side and the bottom. And then you want to repeat this for the other side. Now once those are nice and bonded, you want to take that last 14-inch piece that you had and lay it across the top. Now since wood can be a little weird sometimes, I noticed that this piece was a little long, so what I'm going to do is take my pencil, I'm going to mark the line that I need to cut off in order for it to fit. I took it out to my saw, trimmed it out, and now it's ready to adhere to the front. So just apply some more of that wood hot glue on there, and then I'm going to place that 14-inch piece right on top. And now we formed our box. So now what we're going to do is we are going to adhere some screws into the front and the back to make sure the box is nice and secure, since it will be supporting some weight. And I'm just putting some blocks underneath to make sure it's nice and even while I work. So what I'm going to do first is, of course, drill my pilot holes. So I'm going to drill a pilot hole in the bottom and the top of that 4.5-inch piece through the back of your planter. Now once all 4 of those are drilled, I am going to use these number 6 1 3/4-inch screws to put in here, and I'm choosing a longer screw since there will be a lot of stress on this joint because it will be supporting the weight of whatever you put in your planter box, and I'm just securing those all into place, and here they are. So now we're going to go ahead and repeat the same thing for the front. I'm going to put 4 wood screws in the front. I'm going to put 2 on one side and 2 on the other by first drilling my pilot holes. Now once those are all drilled, I am going to take some of these number 6 1 1/4 wood screws to put in the front. Now I'm not worried about them showing in the front because I think it would add to the rustic look of the planter when it's all done. And here is the box fully assembled and all secure. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of these craft sticks, these jumbo size craft sticks that I got from Lowe's. They're 98 cents a pack, and I'm going to take one and trim down one edge for it to be flat. Now what I'm going to use these is to top all of the roofs of my houses. So I'm just going to trace the length of the cut that I need to make, and these are easy to cut with scissors. So once that piece fits on there with just the slightest bit of overhang, I'm just going to go ahead and take some more of that wood hot glue. I'm going to place it on one side of that roof piece, and I'm going to place it on. Now you do want the roof piece to overhang in the front and be even with the back. Now once that's secure in place, you want to repeat the process on the other side. Just lay it on there and trace that line that you need to cut, and then trim it down to size. Now if it looks good, go ahead and apply your glue, and then you can place that piece right in there. And this is what it would look like. I love that finished look. So now you just repeat this for the remainder of the tops of your houses. So now that it's all assembled, we are ready to stain our piece, and I chose to go with this classic gray stained by Minwax. Now of course, if you don't want to use stain, you want to keep this indoors, you can also use this elephant gray acrylic paint. Just dilute it with a little bit of water and it'll achieve a similar look. So I'm just going to take my rag and start to apply that stain all over my box. And you just want to make sure you make nice even strokes, making sure you get all of the areas that are exposed. Now I chose to actually do the inside of my box as well, but I'm going to make sure I definitely get the entire outside of the box. And this is why you want to be very careful with your glue by gluing it from the back so it doesn't show through the front, because the stain will not penetrate any glue. And then finally, we're going to get the tops of those roofs and any of those tiny little areas we couldn't reach. I'm just going to go in with a very tiny paintbrush and apply more of that stain until it's all covered. And here is the piece fully stained, and I'm just going to sit this out to dry. And now my piece is all dry and ready to go. So now we're going to work on the bottom. There's a couple of options that you could use to cover the bottom. You can use more of those craft sticks and you can apply them to the bottom and have them at like a grate where any kind of fluid can drain from there. You can actually take more of those wood planks and put them along the bottom if you like. But what I choose to go with is this gutter guard mesh screen. Now I love working with this in my crafts. It's a very, very thick plastic mesh and very flexible. And I'm going to use this to cover the bottom. Now if you don't have that, you can also use a Dollar Tree wastebasket and cut that up to fit as well. So what I'm going to do is I am going to cut a length of that gutter guard mesh, and I'm going to make sure that, and it's easy to cut for scissors, so I'm just going to make sure it'll cover the entire opening plus a slight overlap so you can trim it to size. So once you have a piece long enough, you can go ahead and just trim the edge so it'll fit nice and snug into place. So now I'm just going to take that mesh screen and I'm going to lay it snug against the box and use this staple gun to adhere it into place. Now when you do apply it, just hold it snug into place, and you do want to make sure you first secure it along one of the edges first. Now as you apply it from here, you want to stretch it and make sure it's nice and smooth so it'll be nice and taut. That way when you put your plants in, they can be held nice and taut and there won't be any snagging at the bottom. And just complete this until it's secure all the way around. So here is our screen at the bottom of our planter, fully installed, nice and taut and ready to go. So now you could decorate the front of your box if you like. Now, if you're keeping it indoors, you could use some of these letter stickers from the Dollar Tree. You can use metal letters if you have them on hand. Now, these are a little large, but I wanted to show you what different things you could use. And you can also use some numbers from the Dollar Tree as well. Now, for this project, I am going to use the numbers. So on here, you could put whatever you like. I'm just going to put some house numbers on here, and I'm just going to evenly space them along the front. Now once they're nice and spaced, go ahead and press them firmly into place, and to keep them on, you could just put a coat of waterproof Mod Podge right over the top. Now once those are on there, you can go ahead and decorate your box and fill it. I'm just going to use some of this lamb's ear and lavender that I got from Walmart, and I'm just going to use artificial plants since I don't have any real plants on hand now, but you can add real plants throughout the year if you like, and just arrange that bundle just the way you like it. I just think that this combination is so beautiful for spring. And here is the finished design of my porch planter box. Now, I am so thrilled about how this turned out. Now, I'm so glad I decided to go with the multi-houses and the shapes for the back of this piece. Now, you can use real or artificial potted plants in the box, and you can change it up with the seasons. And you can also customize with your name, your house number, or even a phrase. Now I plan to sit this on a table, but you can screw in some thick rope or hooks on the back to hang this as well. I just love how it turned out, and you guys have to let me know in the comments, how would you choose to display this piece in your home?
Now for my next two projects, I will be using my Cricut machine. So whether you have one hiding away, you're thinking about it, or just curious, check these ideas out.
For this project, we're going to be needing 2 of these Easter signs from the Dollar Tree. Now we're going to go ahead and take those signs. We're going to remove all of those tags and the string from the top. Now we are going to be bonding these together, and we are going to be bonding them at the bottom as shown here to make one long sign. But flip over the design section facing you, and we are going to be using those cut off paint stir sticks from our other project to bond these together. I'm just going to add some wood hot glue to it, and I'm going to place the first one in the center seam, bond it until it's nice and secure, and then adding one of the pieces on the top and one of the pieces on the bottom. Now once those are bonded, I'm adding just a little bit more glue on that seam just to make sure everything is nice and secure. Now once that does completely dry, we are going to prepare our sign for paint. So I'm protecting my surface, and I'm going to go ahead and grab some white chalk paint. I'm just going to add some of that chalk paint to the board, and then I'm just going to spread it out with a paintbrush. You only need one really nice coat over the entire back of your sign. And here it is, all nice and painted, and you want to allow it to completely dry. And here's our sign all nice and dry, and now we're going to cover up the back. I just think this looks so professional when you complete the back of your projects. So I'm taking some of that thick craft paper I love to use, and I cut a piece the size of the back, and I'm going to start outlining the back of the sign with my hot glue, pressing it down. Now I'm adding it in sections, so you just add it as you go and press that paper in place. And once the back is completely covered, you want to take a utility blade or an X-Acto knife and go around the entire outside of your sign to remove all of the excess, and now the back of your sign is all covered. Now I wanted to hang it, so I'm adding a piece of jute twine with knots on the end. You don't want to glue it to the paper, you actually want to glue it to the board. So I've marked where the knots will go, and I'm taking my utility blade and I'm cutting out 2 squares out of that craft paper so the back of the board will be exposed, and you can add glue to that section. So add 2 heaping amounts of glue, and then place your hanging string with the knots in the glue to make sure it's adhered to the board. Now to cover up the knots, I cut 2 more pieces of craft paper, added glue, and I'm covering up those knotted ends. I just think that this makes the look so complete and finished, and now your sign can be hung. So now we're in design space. Go ahead and click images, and we're going to type in welcome sign. So as you can see, I love all these cute little welcome signs. I have them from all the seasons in design space, and I am going to select one that I like to go on my board and then add it to my canvas. Now I'm going to resize my screen so I see the whole sign, and as you see, the measurements are off. We're going to do it according to the measurements of the board. So we want the width to be adjusted to 6 inches and the height to be adjusted to 23 inches. Now once all of your sizing is correct, go ahead and rotate your sign sideways because we want to split this in half so it'll fit on our cutting mat. Now I'm going to go to shapes and select a square, and I am just going to draw a square out on my canvas. And we're going to place that square over the half where we want to split our design in half. Now once it's placed right in the center, you want to click and drag over the whole thing, hit split, and what it's going to do is divide that sign in half into 3 layers. So we're just going to delete these 2 extra layers we don't need, and now we have the top half and the bottom half. And we're just going to move them around on our canvas until everything looks good, and then click make it, and this will show what it looks like on our smart vinyl. Now if everything does look good, we can continue to cut our design. Now our machine is cutting out our design for our welcome board. Now once it's done, cut that vinyl off and then eject all of the cut vinyl to reveal your welcome sign design on the vinyl. So now all we have to do is just go ahead and weed all of that out. It's really easy. And once the bigger pieces are done, we're just going to get all of those fine detailed pieces. And now we have both halves of our sign. I'm going to go ahead and take some transfer tape, put it over the entire piece. I'm going to burnish it on, and then I'm going to remove it from my mat and then cut it in half. So now we have the top and the bottom pieces of our welcome sign, and I'm going to go ahead and this time grab my board, and I want to make sure that that welcome sign will fit the way I would like it. So I'm placing both halves on top just to make sure it fits accurately. Now once I'm happy with that, I'm removing that smart vinyl backing until the vinyl is just on the transfer tape, and I'm trimming off just a little bit on the bottom side so I can connect it and stick it to the top to make one continuous piece. And now just flip the entire piece over to where it fits on the board and carefully place it on top. And then once it's nice and centered, go ahead and burnish that on really well. And now all you have to do is carefully peel off all of that Cricut transfer tape. Now this is adorable. I love it. Now if you wanted to amp up the look a little bit, you can always add a little bit of greenery to the top. And I also added a black and white finger bow to the top to finish the look. Now check out how gorgeous the sign turned out. This is my first project making a long sign, and I have to tell you, it was so incredibly easy to make using my Cricut along with Design Space. Now, you would never know that this was made with Dollar Tree signs. I really do hope you all give this easy project a try too. For this project, we will be using one of these Cricut pillow covers that is about 18 by 18 in size. Okay, we're going to jump into Design Space, and we're going to choose a design for my pillow. Now, keeping with the welcome theme, I'm going to type welcome in the box there, and I chose this welcome sign with the little leaves on it. I thought that would be perfect for an entryway or a porch pillow. So I'm going to go ahead and resize this to the size of my mat and my infusible ink sheet, and I made it 11.5 by 11.5 just to make sure it fits. Then we're going to go ahead and click Make It, and now it appears on your mat, and you want to make sure everything is within the lines. Now since this is infusible ink, we definitely want to remember we have to mirror this design since it will be face down. So we're going to click Mirror, and now you see that the image has flipped. So now we're going to go ahead and click to cut it, and we will get a warning. Once we choose our infusible ink transfer sheet, we are going to get another warning there just to make sure you didn't forget to mirror it, which is really good by Cricut, just to make sure you don't waste materials. And then if everything else looks good, you can go ahead and start cutting your design. For this project, we'll be using this black Cricut infusible ink. Now we'll also be using our standard grip mat for this since this infusible ink sheet is pretty thick. Now we want to go ahead and remove everything from the package. It does come in a protective sleeve. You want to remove everything from the sleeve. You'll have 2 ink sheets. You'll also have 2 pieces of butcher paper, and you will have a practice piece of fabric that you could test out. So we're only going to be using 1 sheet for this project, so just set everything else to the side. Now you just remove your protective sheet from your standard mat, and then you want to place your infusible ink sheet with the ink side facing up. And then you could just load this into your machine. And now go ahead and cut out your design and watch it go. Now here is our completed design all cut out. You see it has cut out completely mirrored as we selected. Now to weed this, I like to go ahead and remove this from my sheet to weed infusible ink because you'll want to kind of bend the sheet a little bit and crackle the design and then peel it away. Now it's suggested that you kind of weed this by hand or using Cricut tweezers. It's not suggested you use a weeding tool, but honestly this is so easy to weed by hand. You just want to peel away the pieces you don't want to be infused to your final project. Now we're just going to remove all the outside pieces and the inside of the lettering. And now everything is fully weeded on your design, and now you can move on to application. Now, in order to get directions on how to apply your infusible ink sheet, just Google heat guide for Cricut and this guide will come up. The first thing we need to do is select our instrument, which we'll be using the Easy Press 2. The second thing we need to select is the type of material we're using, and for this project we will be using infusible ink transfer sheets. And then we need to choose the base material, what will be applied to, and we are going to be using a pillow cover. Now we are going to indicate that we are using the Easy Press mat as well, and here are the directions. So it does state that you need to heat your Easy Press to 385 and press for 60 seconds for light pressure and a warm peel. Now there will also be information on the supplies that you'll need, and also there'll be information on how to prep your project. Now after you prep your project, the complete application process is indicated and care. So everything is here ready to go for your project. So now what we're going to do is get our Easy Press set up and ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and set the preheat to 385. And then after the preheat is set, we're going to set it up to 60 seconds for the pressing time. Now while that preheats, go ahead and unpackage your Cricut pillow cover and remove all the plastic bits and pieces from the packaging. Now I'm going to lay it out on my Easy Press mat, and then I want to go ahead and unzip so we can access the inside. Now the instructions indicate that we want to place a couple of pieces of 80-pound cardstock inside, and this will just prevent any ink transfer to the back side of the pillow. Now we want to make sure that's evenly laid on the inside, and then shift your pillowcase around and make sure the zipper is at the bottom. So next I'm just taking a piece of tape and I am removing all the lint. You can use a lint roller for this, but I'm just using a piece of tape to remove any loose lint on my pillowcase. And then I'm taking a piece of butcher paper that comes with your infusible ink, and I'm going to lay it right in the center of my pillowcase where my design will go. Now I'm going to take my preheated press and I am going to press the surface of my pillowcase about 15 seconds all the way around, so the surface where I apply my design will be nice and smooth. Now once that's done, remove your butcher paper and wait for your pillowcase to cool. Now once it's cool, we're going to place our infusible ink design with the ink side down on the pillow, and once it's centered, smooth it out so it would adhere to your pillowcase. Then place that piece of butcher paper right back on top of your infusible ink sheet. And then take your Easy Press. Now I am going to be pressing this in a quarter at a time. So the top quarter, I'm going to place the press down and I am going to set the timer for 60 seconds, giving it light pressure. Once that 60 seconds is up, lift it straight up and down. Now I'm going to do the second quarter for 60 seconds. Lift it up, do the bottom quarter for 60 seconds. And then finally, I'm going to lift it straight up and do the last quarter. Now, it's very important, do not slide your press. You want to actually lift it straight up. Now, once that last quarter is pressed, you want to wait till it cools to touch. Remove your butcher paper and carefully peel your design away while it's warm. And check it out. It looks amazing. I love the bold color of the infusible ink on this project. Now all you have to do is to add a pillow form and your project is now complete. Now this infusible ink is so rich and bold in color, and I love how it turned out. Now I think this pillow will be the perfect addition to a housewarming gift basket. You all have to let me know what you think of this project in the comments below.
Listen, I hope that you guys were inspired by these creations today and will give them a try. If you love DIYs on a budget, please give this video a thumbs up and share this video with your friends. Make sure that you're following She's So Crafty EE on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest for the latest news, sneak peeks, and giveaways. Now also be sure to subscribe by clicking on my She's So Crafty logo on your screen and hit that bell to be notified when the next DIY goes live. It doesn't cost a thing. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.